is there something rather than nothing? Why does anything exist at all?
Albert Einstein, philosophers like Aristotle, Aquinas, Leibniz, and Spinoza. Historical agreement estimates. Classical philosophers, 70 to 90% across various points. Modern philosophers, 60 to 80% accept the logic, though interpretations vary. Scientists, 30 to 50%.
This question has puzzled humans for thousands of years. Today, I'm going to explain a philosophical logical argument that shows why there must be a necessary conscious foundation of reality, a foundation that everything else depends on. Something exists. You exist, everything around you exists. Even doubting requires something to exist. Existence is undeniable. If you're doubting, perceiving, or thinking, there must be something doing it. Imagine trying to doubt that you exist. The very act of doubting proves something exists. Absolute nothing is impossible. Absolute nothing has no properties, no potential, and no capacity. Something cannot arise from absolute nothing. If there were truly nothing, nothing could ever exist. Even empty space in physics isn't truly nothing. It has laws and potential. True nothing has zero potential, zero capacity, zero everything. Nothing cannot produce something. Quantum physics shows something from nothing, but quantum nothing already has structure and laws. Real absolute nothing cannot produce anything. Everything we observe is contingent. It could fail to exist. Contingent things cannot explain their own existence. They require a foundation that is independent of them. A contingent thing is like a domino. It can fall or be removed. A chain of dominoes may topple, but the chain itself needs a stable surface. That stable surface is the necessary being. Could there be multiple necessary beings? If multiple necessary beings existed, they would either be identical or different. If identical, they are just one thing described twice. If different, the difference would require explanation, which introduces contingency. So, logically, one ultimate necessary being makes the most sense. Why not an infinite regress of contingent things? Even an infinite chain only explains each link locally. It does not explain why the chain as a whole exists. Without a necessary foundation, nothing contingent could exist. The necessary being is eternal. A necessary being cannot fail to exist. If it could begin or cease, it would be contingent. Eternal here means logical eternity. It exists outside the chain of contingency and cannot cease. Eternal in what sense? Time may be relative. Eternal here is not about time. It is about necessity. It exists independently of anything else and cannot not exist. Contingent reality depends on it. All observed phenomena, matter, life, change, consciousness, are contingent. Without a necessary foundation, none of this would be possible. Contingent things cannot sustain themselves independently. Imagine trying to build a tower without a foundation. No matter how well you build it, it will collapse. The necessary being is the foundation that supports all contingent reality. Does this explain how things exist physically? No. The argument is about logical grounding, not physical mechanisms. Consciousness requires a sufficient foundation. Consciousness exists. You are aware right now. Brains manifest consciousness, but brains themselves are contingent. Something must make consciousness possible in principle. Contingent matter alone cannot explain possibility of subjective experience. It's like a musical instrument. The piano can produce music, but there must first exist the capacity for music in principle. Consciousness could emerge from brains. Emergence explains appearance, but not the fundamental possibility. Contingent matter cannot produce possibilities. It doesn't contain. The necessary being is conscious. If consciousness exists and requires a foundation, the foundation itself must support or enable consciousness. This doesn't mean human-like thoughts, only that consciousness is grounded in it. Could consciousness exist without a conscious source? Consciousness cannot cause itself. Only something with the capacity for consciousness can explain its existence. Individual consciousness is independent. Humans have private awareness, showing that the necessary being sustains reality without intruding on individual experience. Does the foundation directly influence humans? The argument only requires that the consciousness exists because of the eternal foundation. Is the universe eternal? I would argue that the universe has a problem of infinite regress. Others would argue B theory, but I will explain now. The unanswered questions, the consciousness problem, how it creates a serious philosophical problem, the things that B theory struggles to explain. In B theory, all moments exist equally. There is no special now. But your direct experience tells you something very different. You experience this moment as present. The past feels fixed. The future feels open. Time feels like it is flowing. If all moments exist equally, why do you experience only one moment as now? B theory struggles to explain this. The consciousness problem. The consciousness problem. Your consciousness seems to move through time. You remember the past, experience the present, and anticipate the future. But in B theory, your birth moment exists. This moment exists. Your death moment exists, all equally. So, I would ask, why is your consciousness located at this moment instead of another? B theory can describe where your consciousness is, but not why it is here now. Famous philosopher who raised the issue, J.M.E. McTaggart. McTaggart argued that real time requires a true distinction between past, present, and future. He said, B theory removes this distinction and turns time into a static ordering, not real flowing time. Another modern critic, William Lane Craig. Craig argues if B theory is true, nothing truly comes into existence, but we experience things coming into existence. Therefore, B theory conflicts with reality as experienced. He says the flow of time is real, not an illusion. The deepest version of the objection, B theory explains time like a map, but it doesn't explain why you are conscious at this coordinate, why you experience sequence, why the present feels special. It describes the structure of time, but not the lived reality of time. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine a movie reel. All frames exist at once. B theory says reality is like the whole reel, but your consciousness only sees one frame at a time. The unanswered question is, what selects the current frame? This creates two competing views. B theory, eternalism, all time equally real, no objective present, time doesn't truly flow. A theory, only the present truly exists, the future doesn't exist yet, time genuinely flows. So, for all people that believe in B theory, I would like to ask you, is the space-time block logically necessary or contingent? If necessary, I would ask, prove logical impossibility of non-existence. If contingent, they admit it needs explanation beyond itself. If brute fact, they admit explanatory incompleteness. So, if B theory is true, the space-time block exists. The space-time block is contingent because its non-existence is logically impossible. Contingent existence requires explanation beyond itself. B theory does not provide such an explanation. Therefore, B theory cannot be the ultimate explanation of reality. Here's my argument for B theory not being the truth. Premise 1. Everything that exists either exists necessarily or contingently. If something exists necessarily, its non-existence is logically impossible. If something exists contingently, its existence requires an explanation outside itself. The space-time block described by B-theory is not logically necessary because its non-existence is logically conceivable without contradiction. Therefore, the space-time block exists contingently. Contingent existence requires explanation outside itself. Premise 7. B-theory does not provide an explanation outside the space-time block. Conclusion. Therefore, B-theory cannot be the ultimate explanation of reality. The block is just a brute fact. A brute fact is by definition not logically necessary. If reality is a brute fact, then B-theory does not explain reality. Conclusion. Therefore, B-theory fails as a complete explanation. The consciousness location argument. The consciousness location argument. This attacks B-theory's inability to explain why your consciousness is at this moment. Your conscious experience exists at a specific temporal coordinate. Under B-theory, all temporal coordinates equally exist. There is no logically sufficient reason why within B-theory why your consciousness exists at this coordinate rather than another. If a fact has no logically sufficient explanation with a theory, that theory is explanatorily incomplete. Explaining each member of a series does not logically explain the existence of the entire series. Example, explaining each book resting on another does not explain why the stack exists at all. B-theory explains events only in terms of other events. Therefore, B-theory does not explain why their entire structure exists. If something does not explain its own existence, it is not logically self-sufficient. Conclusion. Therefore, B-theory is not logically self-sufficient. The contingency argument. This is very powerful and simple. The space-time block could logically have been different. Anything that could logically have been different is contingent. Contingent things require explanation. B-theory does not explain why the space-time block exists rather than another. Therefore, B-theory fails to explain reality fully. The truth maker argument. This attacks B-theory's inability to ground present experience. Statements like, I am experiencing this moment now, are true. True statements require truth makers. Under B-theory, no moment is objectively privileged. Therefore, B-theory cannot provide a truth maker for a present experience. Therefore, B-theory cannot fully account for temporal reality. Therefore, B-theory does not solve the infinite regress problem of the universe.